Oh, wait, are we ready? Yep. Okay, 6:30. I would like to call the meeting to order. Um, I first off want to thank again the amazing strings student here and their wonderful performer, teacher. And I know we asked you to stay for a sec while they do Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have parents here? Can you stand so we can acknowledge you and thank you for bringing your students? Thank you so much. So I would appreciate if everybody would rise and we can have the Pledge of Allegiance led by these wonderful students. And then please stay standing for a moment of silence to honor the memory of Pinnacle High School student Grayson Briggs. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for standing one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you very much. May we have roll call, please?
Mr. Pantera?
Here.
Mrs. Case is absent this evening. Mrs. Greenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Baker?
Here.
Mrs. Christensen?
Here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Items approved by consent will not come up for a discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. Any member of the audience who submitted a blue public comment card prior to the start of the meeting will be recognized to speak on that agenda item under items for approval. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Thank you, Dr. Bales. We received no blue comment cards, so nobody from the audience has asked to move anything. Does any member of the board wish to move anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommended consent agenda items?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mr. Pantera, I'll start with you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the board meeting. I'm glad you're all here with us tonight. Last week, I had the privilege of going to the United Parent Council's teacher appreciation event, where all these, how many, was hundreds, right? Hundreds of teachers. I don't have the exact numbers. Thousands were nominated, and almost all of them actually got these awards. So many that we had to go to North Canyon High School to meet them all and let them know how much we appreciate them. I got to see some of my old friends, some colleagues, and that's always rewarding. And we got to hear some letters. Some of those were read out loud, and we got to hear what parents said when they nominated these teachers. Over and over again, they talked about the special attention or the individual attention given to the students, how much the caring and the feelings of those students were emphasized. Maybe my memory's faulty, but I didn't remember any single letter talking about how wonderful their test scores were. Okay, we all want good test scores. We all want education, but our teachers, and so many of them I know are getting acknowledged for that, they understand to get the highest test scores, the students got to be all right inside. You don't give your best performance when you have things and issues going on. I'm so proud that so many teachers were nominated and had those kinds of comments by parents. And I know the ones that weren't nominated are doing the same thing. So way to go, teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. Mrs. Baker.
First, I just want to say that
kindergarten performance was like the best performance I have seen yet. It made my whole week. I loved it. I also went to the teacher appreciation, which was amazing. UPC did a great job putting that together. It was so nice to see all the teachers honored and get pictures with them and see them walk across the stage. And so I won't go into detail because Mr. Pantera did that, but I did go see Horizon's Battle of the Bands, and that was fantastic. That was incredible. The kids are amazing. And if you get a chance to go see a Horizon performance, you should definitely go because those kids will blow you away. And so that's it. I just wanted to compliment them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Mrs. Christensen.
Good evening, everyone. I just would like to welcome everyone in attendance today, especially some of our students that are here that we'll be honoring later. And of course, our lovely teachers that participate a lot of times and all the community members. So thank you for coming today. I would also like to thank UPC for an amazing event. And again, I won't go into it. Mr. Pantera did a phenomenal job of explaining it, but it's so important for us to honor our amazing educators, and they put on I believe it was a second annual event, and they did a really great job. I'm also grateful that our district really focuses on STEAM because science, technology, engineering, mathematics are all great, but the arts, the A in STEAM, the arts help with all of those other areas. Music is mathematic. When you do art, it stimulates your mind. So I'm so grateful. I also attended the Horizon Pop concert yesterday, or was it Tuesday? Tuesday. And it was phenomenal. I did want to say a shout out to Allison Clue. She used to have a partner helping her, but she's doing this all by herself now with a lot of volunteers and assistant. But this is Broadway caliber performance stuff, and between the costumes and everything, Horizon Choir, they did a phenomenal job. And then lastly, I just wanted to send love and prayers out to the Briggs family this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. All of us actually got to be at the teacher appreciation. Not to belabor it, it's teacher and staff. So I'd like to shout out to everybody. One of the letters read, in fact, was about an amazing bus driver that we have, which was just a joy to hear. And so I want to, like everyone else, I want to thank our United Parent Council for putting this event on. This has been something they've done for quite some time, but previously it was kind of here in the boardroom, and we needed more space, or they needed more space. So that's why they have moved it to high school auditoriums, and I'm beginning to wonder if that's going to be enough pretty soon. Also, just want to do a shout out. It was the annual retiree and 25th anniversary event last week, and as usual, it was amazing. There are some folks who've been here at PV for more than 25 years who look like they just stepped out of college. So, it's kind of, but it was lovely to see folks and to get to thank those who are leaving and thank those who are staying as well. And I just want to thank everybody who's here, particularly given we've got 1 week to go. I'm sure some of you want to be back studying for your tests. So we will move it along now. And next on our agenda is awards and recognitions. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg. It's always a pleasure to highlight our students and staff, and tonight's no exception. Mr. Droege will MC our honors tonight. So this time I'd like to invite the governing board to join me in front of the dais.
Good evening, President Greenberg, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have several recognitions to share with you. This evening, we'll be inviting our honorees to the front of the room for the recognition and photo. So when I call your name, please come to the front of the room. Our first honorees tonight won the Boys Division II State Doubles Tennis Championship. These stellar athletes faced several opponents and ultimately won in a finals by 6-2, 6-2 victory. These two have trained together and created a powerful sports partnership. Please help me welcome from Paradise Valley High School, Nimith Garajala and Yash Talta. In an inspiring display of athleticism, my apologies, and teamwork, our next honorees clinched the Division II State Track and Field Championships and the All-Division State Meet. From sprints to relay and from hurdles to shot put and discus, these high schoolers dominated at each meet. Please help me welcome from Horizon High School, the 800 meter, 1600 meter, and 3200 meter at Division State Meet, Donovan Biddix. From North Canyon, I'll call all the athletes up at once for the 100 meter, 200 meter, and 400 meter run at the Divisional State Meet and the 4x100 meter relay at the All Division State Meet, Devin Henderson. For the 100 meter hurdles and 4x100 meter relay at both the Divisional State Meet and All Division Meet, Rebecca Jade Garrett. Four by 100 meter relay at both the Divisional State Meet and All Division State Meet, Demetria Casagbo. Four by 100 meter relay at both the Divisional State Meet and the All Division State Meet, Olivia Hussein. Four by 100 meter relay at the Divisional State Meet, Tiana Beckett's. Shot put and discus at the Divisional State Meet, Emmanuel Hernandez. Continuing with track and field from Paradise Valley High School, boys long jump at the All Division State Meet, Nathan Williams. Finally, tonight, recognition that I'll turn the honors to Dr. Bales, retiring administrators.
Tonight, I want to recognize Donna Alley. Donna Alley has spent 30 years as a teacher and principal in our district, and she is a true unicorn in the profession, as she spent all 30 years at Mercury Mine Elementary School, which is a rare feat. Under her leadership, she has helped create a positive culture where teachers and staff are engaged with parents to create a strong sense of community. And as a result, Mercury Mine has a history of high student achievement and a strong family satisfaction. Her footprint will long be felt at Mercury Mine, and we wish her the best in her retirement. And as she retired mid-year, she's tied up doing retiree things right now. So she is not with us tonight, but we wish her the best. And I also would like to recognize Laura Herbine. For the past 5 years, I have had the distinct pleasure of working alongside Mrs. Herbine in her role as Director of Student Services. She has proven to be an invaluable resource to our principals, our teachers, and parents in the support of student success. She started in PB schools in 2006 as the principal of Cactus View Elementary School, where she served for 8 years before being asked to lead Pinnacle Peak Prep. Under her leadership, she transitioned Pinnacle Peak from a K-6 school into the district's only K-8 school, which was quite a feat. And in total, she has dedicated 35 years of her life to public education, and we congratulate her on her retirement, and I'd like to thank her for being a great companion and friend over the last 5 years.
There we go. I know how to use an outside, playground voice too. It's my pleasure, as we gather tonight, to celebrate another truly remarkable administrator, Dr. Stephen Jarris. For an incredible half a century, Steve has dedicated himself to the PB Schools community from his days as a student to his role as currently as assistant superintendent. His impact has been undeniable. Steve's professional journey began at North Canyon, where he completed his student teaching under the guidance of wonderful Phyllis Stanfield. Ms. Stanfield recognized Steve's potential early on, highlighting his conscientiousness, intelligence, and genuine care for students. This passion for education resonated with Steve himself, as evidenced by his belief that all students can learn and his commitment to making those connections happen every day. He wrote that on his very first application in 1993. Yes. Steve's career flourished as he transitioned from teacher to administrator. He began his teaching career, as I mentioned, at North Canyon, where he not only excelled in the classroom, but also mentored students through the yearbook and newspaper clubs. After a very brief one-semester stint outside of the district, Steve returned, taking on leadership roles as assistant principal at Desert Shadows Middle School and principal of Sandpiper Elementary School. Notably, Dr. Jarris played a very pivotal role in transforming Sandpiper into a successful full Spanish immersion school. His leadership then extended to the district level, where he served as director of assessment and then director of student services for elementary, and finally as assistant superintendent for leadership elementary. Steve's impact extends far beyond his professional achievement. He is renowned for his creativity, a man who also writes plays, video records and edits short films and movies. Sometimes friends are in them. And dabbles in various art forms. He's quite a woodworker at that. Some of us have enjoyed his one-man show at the Herberger. Steve embodies the very best of educational leadership. He is confident, caring, and committed to student success. He makes informed decisions based on data. He never loses sight of the human element. Steve is also a true team player, an effective communicator, and a man of unwavering integrity, honesty, and fairness. On a personal, I'm incredibly fortunate to have served alongside Steve as a colleague and consider him to be a member of my tribe. I'm confident his next endeavor as a full-time faculty member at Northern Arizona University will be just as amazing and impactful. Dr. Jarris, your dedication to PV schools and the countless students you have touched is truly inspiring. Thank you for your remarkable journey, and here's to many more chapters filled with your passion and creativity. Because you've been so good, you get your Sandpiper Stars card tonight.
And that, President Greenberg, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Next on the agenda is superintendent comments. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg. In PV schools, we engage, we inspire, and we nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. And one of those experiences is the SEALS program. The Arizona Department of Education recognizes the excellence of high school graduates with this program and celebrates students who have excelled in a particular area of study. PV Schools is proud to offer the highly coveted Arts Proficiency Seal, which is awarded to students who have achieved academic excellence in arts education and have completed a rigorous set of extracurricular activities and a capstone project. To earn the Arts Proficiency Seal, student artists must first complete 4 credits of qualifying arts courses while maintaining a minimum GPA of 3.0, showcasing their consistent, outstanding academic performance. Additionally, students are also required to engage in at least 80 hours of extracurricular activities in the arts fields. These activities allow them to gain practical experience, develop their creative thinking skills, and enrich their art history and cultural knowledge. All 5 PV Schools comprehensive high schools have students receiving this distinguished honor, and this year, 86 students earned their Arts Proficiency Seal. Please help me congratulate these students on their hard work, discipline, and dedication. Each year, the City of Phoenix recognizes young people for their leadership and exceptional achievement through its outstanding Phoenix Youth Leader of the Year program. This year, Joel Weckklein of Pinnacle High School and Ishan Varshith Maladi from Paradise Valley were named the Phoenix Youth Leader of the Year for District 2. As part of this recognition, both students were honored at a luncheon. They got a free lunch, where they were presented with a certificate and a cash prize. Furthermore, both honorees will have the opportunity to participate in citywide programs and make special appearances to promote youth issues. Congratulations to both these students. Recently, the Arizona Department of Health Services awarded PV Schools a Platinum Award through the Healthy Arizona Worksites Program, HOP Award. The HOP Award is awarded to businesses that are making efforts to positively impact the health and well-being of their employees, their families, their community through worksite health initiatives and promising programs. Some of our health and wellness options include the WellStyles Wellness Program, Second.MD Services, our annual community 5K run, walk run, and the Employee Assistance Program, just to name a few. Thank you to all of our employees who work diligently to provide platinum level wellness to PV schools. And finally, tonight, I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all the students and staff who had worked so hard this school year and are ending on a strong note. Next week marks a significant milestone for all of our students as they wrap up the school year and move on to their next grade level. And I'd like to give an extra shout out to the graduating class of 2024, who will celebrate their accomplishments through commencements over the next week. We wish all of our graduates the very best of luck as they embark on a new path and continue their journey of excellence beyond paradise. Along with all of us here at PV Schools, I take immense pride in our students and staff and recognize the incredible journey each individual has taken to reach this point. You have certainly shown that there are many journeys to excellence. Congratulations and thank you for choosing PV Schools. Those, President Greenberg, conclude my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Next on the agenda are items for approval, and first is consideration approval of administrative personnel actions.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Governing board members, cabinet, and guests, tonight we present for your approval two outstanding individuals as principal leaders for next school year. Dr. Holmes, would you please share?
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Madam President, members of the board, Shelley Richardson is currently the principal at Lone Mountain Elementary School in Cave Creek. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from ASU, a Master of Science in Educational Leadership from NAU. And if approved, she will receive salary and benefits consistent with the PVP bargaining agreement. We recommend that you approve Ms. Richardson to be the next principal at Fireside Elementary.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. Mrs. Baker, may I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Shelley Richardson for the position of principal at Fireside Elementary School as presented?
So moved.
Any board member wish to make a comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Richardson.
Please stand up. There we go. Do you have any family you would like to introduce us to? Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, Stephanie Twecki is currently the interim principal at Mercury Mine Elementary School. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from NAU, a Master of Education in Educational Administration from GCU, and if approved, she will receive salary and benefits consistent with the PVP bargaining agreement. I don't know if this will be for the next 30 years, but we do recommend you approve Ms. Twecki to be the next principal at Mercury Mine Elementary School.
Mrs. Baker, may I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Stephanie Twecki for the position of principal at Mercury Mine Elementary School as presented?
So moved.
Does any member of the board wish to make any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Twecki.
Would you like to introduce us? Thank you all so much for joining us. Next on the agenda is discussion and possible action to submit policy priorities for inclusion in the Arizona School Boards Association 2025 political agenda. I just want to remind everybody, based on the discussions at our May 2nd board meeting, I'd like to summarize the list of top 5 priorities and 2 additional items for consideration to submit on behalf of the board. First was maximize state funding for competitive salaries to attract, recruit, and retain talented teachers and staff, increase the pipeline of certified teachers, increase the diversity of the teaching force, and for difficult-to-fill positions. The second one was eliminate unfunded mandates and administrative burdens. The third was to oppose regulations, policies, and restrictions that overburden or unnecessarily penalize educators and support staff as they educate and care for students. The fourth was establish financial and academic transparency for all institutions and individuals that accept public funds, enforce financial requirements, and seek recovery of improperly received and/or expended funds by individuals, charters, in public schools, private schools, and organizations. And the fifth one was repeal any program that gives public funds for private schools, vouchers, empowerment scholarship accounts, and private school subsidies from school tuition organizations, and prevent any further future expansion. Additional items for consideration were promote and fund programs such as Project Momentum to increase academic achievement in K-12 education, and to support full funding for special education. Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to approve the submission of the top 5 priorities and 2 additional items for consideration for inclusion in the Arizona School Boards Association 2025 political agenda as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member have any comments? Mr. Pantera?
Yes, I like everything we've agreed to. That special education one, if we could put it in that list of bullet 2 on that first one, because I'd like to get something in there about junior ROTC, you know, those kind of programs as being something that we think that should be funding should be provided for. I mentioned it the last board meeting, right? I mentioned that, the ROTC thing, junior ROTC. So what do y'all think about that?
I mean, what would the item look like?
Well, we talked about, because special education, there's under adequate and equitable fund for district schools at the least national, you know, that one. The second bullet was to provide consistent, dedicated sources, and there's a whole list of items there. That one that was not listed was special education specifically, but also nothing to do with ROTC type of work, unless it's under one of those other categories that I'm not just understanding that. So if we could add them both there, or I'd like your thoughts on that.
Does anybody, Mrs. Baker?
I just like, what would the legislation look like for JROTC?
Well, right now, they're not providing the only funds that are provided by the federal government for that, right? You know, like the Air Force and that, they provide the funds to help out with those programs. Dr. Bales, is that correct?
That's part of the program, yes.
And then, for example, we might have to provide funds from the district to help support those programs, right?
We do. We provide half the funds.
It'd be nice if the state contributed funds to help with that. Instead of just out of our budget normally, maybe they dedicate a special source of funds just for that. That's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, President Greenberg, Mr. Pantera, there are a couple other bullets on the entire list that you've had an opportunity to review that refer to CTEDs, right? And so I thought I saw CTE as well, fully restore 9th through 12th grade CTE eligibility and funding to increase access for work-based learning expansion. That kind of falls under that bullet point, because JROTC programs, whether they be Army, Air Force, Space Force, whatever branch, is a secondary program. And so there are a lot of districts that are just K-8. And as a secondary program, it's one of many CTE programs. So it may be that you talk about and endorse CTE as a general program, and then there are site-based decisions that come out of that effort.
So it falls under that umbrella, you're saying?
It does.
Well, then I'm not going to worry about it if it could be included there and we could get funds from the state from that.
Mrs. Christensen?
I actually like Mr. Pantera's idea, and perhaps you can make a motion to include some sort of language, because I do think, while it is included under CTE, I think it would be nice to put some language in there that, just so that we as a board are saying that we support junior ROTC program. I like the idea, but you'd have to make a motion to do that.
Mrs. Greenberg, I think you have
Mrs. Baker?
I just, with the state budget being in such a deficit, I worry that that would become an unfunded mandate. And then we're still trying to find money to support the JROTC programs.
Well, yeah, but see, I agree. It should be funded. That bullet point talks about base funding in there. It'd have to be funded. Yeah, I don't want another mandate without the funding. We got enough of those, that's for sure.
President Greenberg,
Yep.
Mr. Pantera, I would just offer that we have moved forward in funding the Army ROTC program that will kick off this fall at North Canyon.
All right, and if, like you said, if it's already covered under one of these other bullet points, then I'm not over concerned as long as we take care of, make sure there's funds from the state any way we can get. But if it seems to be there, then I'm not gonna press it further, just stick with what we've already agreed to in the last board meeting.
Okay, does anybody else have any other comments? Anything else they want to? Seeing none, Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to approve the submission of the top 5 priorities and 2 additional items for consideration? Actually, you already moved that, I'm sorry. So there are no other comments, correct? All those in, Mrs. Christensen, sorry.
I just want to say that I appreciate the board including the priorities that Mrs. Case and I made last time to focus on the 2 that we added. So I do appreciate that. And I just wished in the future, perhaps ASBA would not call it political agenda because it just has a very negative connotation as the School Boards Association should not be have a political agenda, but that's just my own personal preference, but I do appreciate the ones that we added from last time.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. Anybody else have any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, now that we have those in place, is consideration and possible action to appoint a delegate to serve at the Arizona School Boards Association's Delegate Assembly. Following past practice, are there any nominations for individuals to serve as our official delegate and as our alternate delegate for the 2024 Delegate Assembly? At this point, let's just look at the one meeting, not necessarily all 3 where we need a delegate because people's, schedules change and we can get to the other ones, the county meeting and the business meeting at a later time. So let's just look at the Delegate Assembly, which is on that. What is it? September 9, 7, whatever it is. Mr. Pantera?
I did that last year and I'd be happy to do it again this year.
Okay. Tony says yes. Mrs. Christensen?
Now, I would also like to throw my name in the hat because I think we need different voices. I know that ASBA is very interested in promoting different diverse voices, and I believe that I would bring a different perspective to the delegates, the delegate assembly.
Mrs. Baker, any thoughts?
I think Mr. Pantera has done a great job and I would second that or whatever needs to be done.
So maybe Mr. Pantera is the delegate and Mrs. Christensen is the alternate?
And my theory is that my job is not to be my own voice, but be the voice of the board. Whatever the board decides, what I bring before the board, not have my own ideas or a different perspective than the board's perspective. That's how I feel about the job.
Any other comments? So may I have a motion? If you guys don't like it, we can switch this around to approve Tony Pantera to serve as official delegate and Sandra Christensen to serve as alternate delegate to represent Paradise Valley Unified School District governing board members at the Arizona School Boards Association's Delegate Assembly to be held on September 7, 2024. Mrs. Baker?
So moved.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to make a comment or switch that or any Any thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you both for stepping up to do that. Next on the agenda is consideration approval of recommended list of supplemental resources. This is second read. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. Tonight, Ms. Copen and her team will present for approval the recommended list of supplemental resources this is the second reading, so it is for approval. We'll be happy to answer any questions. There are no changes from the last presentation.
So, Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to approve the recommended list of supplemental resources as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment? Mrs. Christensen.
I would just like to thank the committee once again. Y'all did a phenomenal job, and I just want to express my appreciation for the hard work, because I know it is a lot of hard work doing that. So thank you.
Anybody else have any comments, thoughts, questions? I'd also like to thank the committee. That list was just enormous and comprehensive, and I appreciate that we are bringing all of that to PV as supplemental. Nobody else has any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, consideration approval of resolution number 562. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. Tonight, Ms. Copen will present for approval an agreement between Paradise Valley Unified School District and a school in France for a student cultural exchange program. Ms. Copen.
President Greenberg and Governing Board. Yes, this is a new MOU between Paradise Valley and I do not know French, so it's very hard to pronounce that school name, but a school from France to provide an opportunity for Pinnacle High School community to engage in an intercultural experience. 20 students from France will visit Pinnacle High School for 5 days as part of a 13-day visit next year in February to Arizona. And these students will also attend Pinnacle athletic events as available. And these students will be partnered with our Pinnacle High School students who are learning French. So the interactions both in French language and culture will benefit our students in authentic communication while also expanding French students' exposure to English and American culture.
So now I have to try it. Okay. May I please have a motion to approve resolution number 562, an agreement between Paradise Valley Unified School District and Lycée Jeanne d'Arc of Académique de Grenoble at Albertville, France for a student cultural exchange program as presented. Mrs. Baker.
So moved.
Any board members wishing, that was my high school French coming up. Any board members wishing to make a comment? Mrs. Christensen.
Yes, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity for all the students involved. And so if you were involved in helping create this, thank you, or whoever in the district. I think I'm really happy that we can provide these types of opportunities to students worldwide.
Yes, I love these kind of programs. When I was at Saguaro High School in Scottsdale back in the day, we had a foreign exchange student. Well, we call it foreign exchange. I guess that's what the still term, from Yugoslavia. I learned so much about a world outside, Arizona. It was phenomenal. When we say exchange, they're just coming here. We're not sending students to France. It's just, okay, cool. Thank you for the information. And again, I really support these kind of programs.
Anybody else? Yes, I agree. These are just extraordinary opportunities, and I appreciate that we can provide them. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is consideration and, if deemed advisable, to adopt resolution number 562, authorizing the issuance and sale of refunding bonds of the district. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, governing board members, cabinet guests. Tonight, Ms. Berrigan will present for consideration and approval the authorization of issuance of sale of PVSD refunding bond series 2024. Ms. Berrigan, will you please present?
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Greenberg, and Governing Board. Just have a quick item for you this evening on the preliminary sales estimates for the potential to refund bonds. This is really a summary here, starting with the credit rating. We have an AA1 with Moody's and a AAA with Fitch, which is the highest rating. And the best way to analogize all of this is if you were to be refinancing your home or refinancing your mortgage. That's effectively what we're doing here, refinancing our debt to get a better interest rate. I know that seems unlikely as interest rates are fairly high right now, but they had been higher at times that we had done these bonds, both the Series B 2013 and Series D 2014. On average, those bonds with maturities between 2024 and 2031 have an average interest of 3.92%. And up to 52.4 million. Now, we want to ensure that we're saving as much as possible for the taxpayer. So you'll see in that bottom area there that we have in a minimum of a 3% refund. If we go below that 3%, we're not necessarily saving what we would expect to save. So it could be up to that 52.4 million as long as we're getting at least 3% for each of those. With the refunding, we expect the interest rate to go down on average to 3.92%. And that would be an approximate savings of just under $1.5 million to the district taxpayers. So we take an opportunity to look for interest like this when we are able to save some pennies for the taxpayer. It doesn't add up to a lot, but I do believe that it's important to do this just as we would for our own personal finances. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, also, Megan Burke with Stiefel is here if there are any more detailed questions on specific financing.
Thank you, Mrs. Berrigan. Mrs. Baker, may I please have a motion to consider and if deemed advisable, adopt resolution number 561, authorizing the issuance and sale of PVUSD refunding bonds series 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Does any board member have any comments or questions? Mrs. Christensen?
Thank you for presenting this. It's always good to be saving money for our district. Are there any risks associated with doing this, or are these interest rates, will they be fixed? They're not going to be.
Once we do
Once you-
refund,
right.
they are fixed. What I'm going to do, along with Stiefel, is keep an eye out on interest rates. We have up to a year to refund this after the board makes its authorization. We will wait for that opportune time. It's sort of been thought that interest rates would be going down, but with CPI still going up or staying fairly high or higher than expected, the interest rates haven't quite gone down. So we have up to a year. We're going to make sure that we sell at the opportune time, and that's why we put in there at least 3%, so that we don't have to refund them if it's not in the best interest of the district to do that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does any other board member have any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, thank you very much, Mrs. Berrigan, and thank you for keeping an eye on those interest rates. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. I'd like to review a few. The Arizona Community Foundation provided $5,000 to Greenway Middle School for sports participation fees and sports equipment. The Harold D. and Eleanor F. Hoopman Charitable Foundation gave Liberty Elementary School just under $5,300 for their library. And the Quail Run PTO provided Quail Run with $2,500 for the 6th grade field trip. We had many other donations. I'd like to thank all of our donors. If you are here personally, thank you very much. And Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to accept gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is call to the public. So please turn your attention to the video monitors.
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules, as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
So tonight we have 4 people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting, and each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker is Eddie Jackson, and our next will be Nicole Klutwick.
Good evening, Eddie Jackson. I'm here tonight to speak about the presentation of PV spending report for 2023 that was presented by Ms. Berrigan at the April 18, 2024 board meeting. Before I begin, it's time we have an honest, transparent conversation about PV funding instead of just echoing talking points, like claiming that we are 49th in education. We're not here in PV. While I do appreciate the presentation on PV spending, the presentation cherry-picked the Auditor General's report and was quite misleading. This slide was presented in an effort to contrast PV spending versus peer, state, and national averages, but only included limited spending categories totaling less than $10,000. Ms. Berrigan erroneously stated, quote, "We are below the national average because overall we receive about $5,000 less per student than the national average." That is simply not true. Ms. Berrigan failed to mention that the Auditor General's report shows that the district spent $15,351 per student in fiscal year 2023. Remember, the report focuses on spending, not revenue. The district received $15,778 per student in revenue in fiscal year 2023. The district is receiving record revenue, receiving $420 million in total revenues in fiscal year 2023, a 31.4% increase since 2018. Total revenues includes federal, state, and local revenues. And despite what you've been hearing, our state revenues are also sharply increasing by 44.6%. Despite these large increases, we've also experienced sharply declining enrollment, losing over 4,300 students. For more information I've presented tonight, including these graphs, please visit eddiejackson.com and click on press releases. Thank you.
Next is Nicole Klutwick, followed by Craig Labori.
So I have yet another meeting that I did not intend on coming and speaking, and then I was just moved to do so. I can't tell you how impressed I am with your string program. It just really touches my heart in a very, very special way. Suzuki violin instrumentals. I love it in every possible way. It is so, so important for children's development to have that musical input early. There's a huge connection with math. There's a correlation between music and math. It's just, it teaches children presence and it encourages them and gives them such a different way of looking at the world. And so just, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Next is Craig Legori, followed by Julie Gunnigal.
Thank you very much for the board. My name is Craig Legori. I spoke here probably November 4th, 2021, and I spoke about three things: music being played from Pinnacle High School, fireworks, and the segment timer being sounded. And I'm here once again today to talk to you guys after I've sent extensive number of emails to you guys about music being played from Pinnacle High School and a segment timer being sounded during football practice. I understand during games, if you're going to sound a segment timer where you have to start and stop the clock and everything else, while I'm home trying to work and I hear a segment timer going off every 5 minutes, it's quite annoying. I have sent many emails to you all. I've talked to Chris Asmussen about this extensively, and yet it continues to happen. Music still being offensive, still being heard in our neighborhood while I'm walking to the mailbox, while kids are playing in the streets. It's got to stop. So 2.5 years have gone by, and I'm here talking to you guys about the same things. I truly believe that it's in your best interest that you guys have everything at heart. But what I'm seeing is a lack of adherence to what the rules are that are written in your guidelines. No one is enforcing it, and as such, there's no accountability. I wrote you guys another email tonight, which prompted me to come here to speak to you guys. And to his credit, Chris Asmussen, is he here? No. In the back. Anyways, he responded to me at 6:21. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, it did not answer the mail, which is the fact that I'm listening to a segment timer go off every 5 minutes. In all the conversations, some of the things that people have said is, have you considered moving your house? I'm in at 2.75%. I ain't moving. So if you're asking me to consider moving my house, I would push back to the people who can't follow your rules. Have they considered updating their resume? Thank you very much.
Last is Julie Gunnigal.
Thank you so much, Madam President, members of the board. I am here tonight to say thank you. What's shaken? I'm Julie Gunnigal. I am a proud graduate of Horizon High School. I have children at Horizon, at Sunrise, and at North Ranch. I am also here tonight, and I swear we didn't plan this, to enthusiastically and maybe even embarrassingly heap praise upon the strings program at Sunrise. We just had our big concert last night, and I don't have enough beautiful words about our director. The fact that she is a professional musician, the fact that she can get her students to make 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years of progress in a single year with her is absolutely remarkable. And having a middle child who entered middle school being awkward and not really knowing their place in the world, and finding it through music has been a powerful sight to behold. So I thank this district again for funding this incredible arts program. And as a wise woman, Taylor Swift, once said that people may fail us, but music never has. So thank you for funding this.
Thank you all. And next on the agenda are items for discussion. This is the first read for the consideration of our recommended literature list. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Greenberg, governing board members, cabinet guests, and tonight Ms. Copen and her team will present for consideration the recommended literature list additions. That's, I think, 12 of them that we present tonight for first reading. Ms. Copen.
Yes, good evening, President Greenberg, Governing Board, Dr. Bales, Cabinet, and guests. Tonight's presentation is the first read of the Literature List Committee recommendations. This work marks our commitment to providing high-quality learning materials for our classroom while adhering to ARS, regulations, and Governing Board policy that require approval for core curriculum and novels. Our objective was to identify and recommend novels that enrich and support our core content in grades 4th through 12th grade, English language learners, special education, and gifted. Shelley Edgar, our elementary English language arts curriculum specialist, and Jen Young, our secondary English language arts curriculum specialist, will present the committee process and the recommendations and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, President Greenberg and Governing Board members. The purpose of this presentation tonight is to share with the Governing Board a first reading of the process and recommendations of the Literature List Committee. Tonight, we will begin by acknowledging our committee members and purpose of their work on this committee. Then we will present the timeline and process and highlight the work that was completed to make this recommendation. We also had an opportunity to get teacher, principal, and community feedback, and we will highlight our process of gathering the feedback from these stakeholders. Finally, we will end the presentation with a recommendation and next steps pending board approval. Before we begin our presentation, I would like to take a moment to introduce the dedicated individuals that served on this committee. In this group, we have representatives from various stakeholders, including parents, administrators, teachers, and specialists. Every member on the committee brought their own individual experiences and insights, providing us with a comprehensive vetting process of the novels being considered. This process started in November of this school year and concluded in late April. We truly appreciate this group and their work. Thank you to all of our members for their willingness to participate in this process. The purpose of this committee is to review submitted titles and make a recommendation to the Governing Board to add new titles to the literature list. Throughout this process, the committee dedicated itself to integrating a variety of stakeholder viewpoints and perspectives. Understanding the value of diverse input in improving our recommendations, the committee conscientiously adhered to a structured process detailed in the table to involve stakeholders and comply with open meeting guidelines, regulations. In November of 2023, we submitted a call to committee to PVEA, UPC, and PVP. Our committee was formed and the stakeholders represented various grade levels, special education, teachers of English learners, administrators, and parents. The committee followed open meeting guidelines with agendas and notices posted physically and online at least 24 hours before the meeting. Meeting minutes were promptly posted online within 3 days of each meeting. Additionally, committee meetings were open to public attendance. Each meeting included dedicated time for community members to express their thoughts to the committee. This inclusive approach aimed to involve the broader community in the decision-making process.
The task of inventorying, evaluating, and discussing all of the novels was thorough. The process began with 2 teachers reading a novel and submitting the literature list submission form, which included detailed information about the content of the novel. After the form was submitted, principals reviewed titles submitted from their campus. Only titles that were approved by the principal were moved forward in the process. Since novels are considered supplementary, we are asking schools to have discussions about how the novels align to standards and support the adopted Tier 1 curriculum. Our next step was to compile information about each novel and complete a rubric to determine whether or not a novel should be marked sensitive or sexually explicit. This information was gathered from the literature list submissions form, as well as credible online sources such as Common Sense Media and Follett Destiny. Our committee met in grade level groups to review titles and discuss rubrics. Committee members had the option to read any of the titles and provide additional feedback. The committee met several times to discuss the titles and finalize the rubrics. Additionally, we met to discuss community review and vote on final recommendations. A reminder to the board that identifying books as sexually explicit is done in accordance to ARS 15-120-03. A link to the Arizona state statute has been provided on the slide for the board to reference.
In addition to reviewing titles for sexually explicit content, in PV schools, we also vet the books for sensitive content such as violence, substance abuse, racial insensitivity, etc. Also, a reminder that any book that is labeled sensitive or sexually explicit requires parent permission and an alternate title available. None of the books that are being recommended tonight have met the criteria to be labeled as sexually explicit or sensitive. The list of proposed titles was posted on the district website for 60-day community review. A poster with a QR code was posted inside and outside the district office lobby where it was displayed with other curricular adoption materials. The QR code linked to the district literature list committee website where community members could review the list of titles and provide feedback. In light of all that has been presented, the recommendation to the governing board is to approve the recommended list of novels. These titles include high quality and diverse literature that is grade appropriate, aligned to standards, and of high interest to students. Again, there are no titles that are marked sensitive or sexually explicit. Pending governing board approval, our next steps are to communicate the list of novels to teachers, principals, and district departments. The literature list committee process will reconvene to review new submissions in the fall of 2025-26. The submission form and timeline for new submissions to be considered are posted on our teacher website. The literature list process will be repeated every other year. We appreciate your attention to this presentation. The second reading for this adoption is scheduled for June 6, 2024. At this time, we're happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. This is an item for discussion. So does any board member have any questions or comments? Mrs. Baker.
I just want to thank you again for such a thorough presentation. Every time you two present, all my questions are already answered in the presentation. So thank you. And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mrs. Christensen.
I would also like to thank you both for the thorough job that you do, and thank you for following open meeting law and for making things available for people to review. I just have one question. What I'm familiar with Common Sense Media. What is Follett Destiny? That I'm assuming just another. I just had never heard of that one. So is it a new?
No, Follett is a company, and Destiny is this program that our libraries use in our system. And so all of our library books are cataloged through that system, and you can go in and you can see comments about a book. There's customer reviews, or I should say like student reviews, and also just any reviews that are available. So it's how our students can check out a book or see if a book is available in a library.
Oh, so it's actually a system. It's not an online review, like because Common Sense Media. When I think of that, I think of, oh, I want to see what other people think about this book, and
there are
details, but-
reviews that are in there, and so
But
yes,
it's more. It sounds like it's more than just reviews. So
it's more than
I'll check
reviews. It
out.
gives you information and it tells you where the titles are available. So if you can see if it's checked in or checked out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Pantera.
And again, literature lists, we're talking about every school, every book we have in the district, or are these just used, targeted for instructional purposes?
The literature list would be books that are used for instruction in the classroom.
So for example, a library could have some books that aren't on the literature list
That's correct.
for the kids to check out on their own.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But all of our library books are cataloged. So we're not hiding library books. Anybody else have any? I just want to add my thanks. I mean, as usual, incredibly thorough. Looking at the list, it's looks like a fun list, quite honestly, at least in the lower levels. But yeah, looks like a great list. So I'm glad we could bring these forward. Does anybody else have any other? Okay, this was first read, so we will see you back in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
What, Mr. Pantera? Did you? Oh, okay, thanks. Before we adjourn, we've already been reminded, but I'd like to remind everybody that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 6, 2024 at 5 p.m. as it's our first summer meeting. Mrs. Baker, may I have motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.